Welcome back. Last time we discussed the significance of Islamic philosophy and the position it occupies in the world of Islamic thought. Now we'll discuss how Islamic philosophy must be understood both as an integral part of the Islamic intellectual tradition and as being very influential upon the Western tradition, and that these two must not be confused with each other. Western philosophy would not have existed as it does if there had not been Islamic philosophy, because Western philosophy was transformed very deeply from the 11th to the 13th centuries of the Christian era as a result of the translation of a number of works by Muslim philosophers. These translations introduced Aristotle to the West for the first time. And significantly, it was Aristotle as seen through Muslim eyes. Western thought was never the same again. And therefore, there was a very profound relationship between Islamic philosophy and Western philosophy. Now, as the West turned against contact with the Islamic world and loss of interest in Islamic thought became manifest, this loss of interest was identified as the loss of that thought itself. And so Islamic philosophy began to be treated as a chapter in Western philosophy. It's perfectly acceptable if we know that that's what we're doing. Although Islamic philosophy has been taught at the University of Leuven in Belgium for over 700 years, and at other places like the University of Salamanca in Spain and the University of Paris in France, for this long period of time, during this whole tradition, the West's interest in Islamic philosophy was in only that period of Islamic philosophy during which it influenced the West. The rest of it was of no interest. It was truncated and thrown away. Moreover, the historiography which came out in the Renaissance and which saw Western civilization as arising from one great period called Greek civilization, which was followed by an intellectually dark period of 1500 years when nobody knew what they were doing, and then suddenly there followed a flowering of all aspects of civilization in the Renaissance, is a really incorrect view of history. But it is the view which has dominated in the West for 400 years and is finally dying only now. In this view, the Muslims could only fit into this pattern by acting as a bridge between Aristotle or Plato and Western thought. That's all the Muslims did according to this. And so the West had always interpreted Islamic thought only as a bridge or as an intermediate stage in its own intellectual development. Now, there's nothing to criticize in this, except when this view claims for itself objectivity in saying that this is what Islamic philosophy is. But that's not what Islamic philosophy is. And that's because there were later phases in the development of Islamic philosophy. Why is this important? Because it makes it appear that Asharite Kalam was orthodox Islamic thought, and that Islamic philosophy was simply a transient phenomena that lasted for a few centuries and disappeared. As Dr. Nasr jokes, what is often taught in universities in the West is that the Muslims were these serious thinkers, great astronomers and philosophers for a few centuries, and then they left everything and started to go to the bazaar and sell beans and play with their worry beads for the next 800 years, until Gamal Abdel Nasser came along and nationalized the Suez Canal, or oil was discovered in Arabia, and they came back into history. And now they're sending their students to the West to study, and they're beginning to think again. This is totally absurd. Any civilization that has not thought for 800 years is not going to begin to think again. Someone who's been sleeping for 2 years is not going to wake up. That person is gone, unfortunately. Given this background, we can trace the development of Islamic philosophy in 4 phases that reach right up to our own day, to which we'll turn next time.